Welcome to My Creative Corner 3, a podcast about quilting, crafting, creativity, and life in a northern town. You'll find show notes at mycreativecorner3.wordpress.com. You can leave a comment, you can sign up for my patron site, you can purchase a virtual cup of coffee, or even sign up for the newsletter. Come back weekly and we'll chat. My name is Vicki, and welcome to the podcast. September. I was shocked to look at the calendar today and realize it's September 5th. 9 on the calendar equals September. Does that ever not translate properly in your brain? I go 9/1, sure, 9/2, yeah, September. September, it's here. Now, the thing that's interesting about what's happening in Michigan with the weather is it's unseasonably cool. I got up this morning and I was like, whew, it's a little chilly in this house. And I don't have my glasses on and I'm just sitting there going, whew, I need a blanket. I don't have a quilt out yet. And then I look at the thermostat and it's 66 degrees in the house, the perfect temperature as far as I'm concerned. And I'm so sorry for those of you who are in still a very hot weather system. Many of my friends and family still live in hot weather. Sorry, I tried it, couldn't abide by it. So here I am in 66 degrees in the house. It was 46 degrees outside. And I'm really glad I brought my succulents in the mudroom last week. They get plenty of sun and it stays warm. And now I just have to remember to water them. I'm hoping to bring them in for the winter somewhere in this house to keep them alive. And I even have a light to help them survive the dark days of winter. And I'm probably going to sit underneath it myself because, it got long and dark last year. So cool weather is upon us. The daylight hours just seem like they're getting really short. The sun is out intermittently. We've had lots of rainstorms and thunderstorms over the last week. So I haven't ventured out of the neighborhood to see how the changing of the leaves is going. I know it started, but I really haven't left the neighborhood. I did go to the office a couple of times, and I don't know that I'll need to go to the office too many times over the next 6 months because we're still doing a lot of things via telecommunications, the internet, whatever you want to call it, and lots of work to be done. The pandemic going on has just made work even more heavy. So it's going to get real heavy. We've lost 1/3 of my team over the course of the summer. And so podcasting, I'm going to do the best I can to keep up because it's really about how much brain space and energy you have, right? To be able to do it. So I'm looking forward to a very busy year because, Labor Day is Monday, and that is always been my New Year's Day in my brain. That's what got me going. September, it's here. Yes, the cold weather and, the yard and garden is going to have to get, some preparing for winter, but we're not to that point yet. So I haven't been doing a lot outside, just a lot of work. And as that work has built up like a head of steam on a locomotive, I realized the New Year's Day is coming up, and I started getting myself really stressed out about all of the goals and what I need to do and all the quilts that customers are dropping off and requests for making t-shirt quilts. I have 3, one I'm working on and 2 more in the future. So I'm kind of booked on t-shirt quilts. And have you had a problem finding Pellon interfacing? I have. It's not easy to find. And after I committed to making these t-shirt quilts, I'm like, seriously, I don't remember it being $5 a yard, but that's how much I paid yesterday because I ran out. But, the local quilt shop, Delphine's, does a real nice job in not doing terribly elevated prices, but I haven't bought interfacing in a while, and I don't remember it being that expensive, but it is now, and I'm sure she paid a pretty penny for the limited supply that she has. So, yeah, yep. all these things in my brain rattling around like a squirrel. All of the squirrels in my neighborhood are going crazy with nuts. Yes, we have walnut trees. They're just scampering all over. They're popping these treasures into the ground in my garden, in my mulch, and that's how my brain has been going. What are you going to do for New Year's? You know, most people are ramping up for a new podcast season. A podcast anniversary is in September. I'm going to tell you right now that I'm not going to do anything special this year. If you would like to look at what we did last year, Make Modern Magazine gave us a link for a free magazine, and that link is still out there. If you want to see a year-old quilt magazine, it had some great stuff in it. Yeah, check it out. Make Modern's a great magazine. I just decided that this goal setting and all of these lofty ideas that I've been working on in my brain since the pandemic started isn't going to happen as quickly as I was thinking, because what can I say? Sometimes you just got to slow down and smell the flowers. I really came to this conclusion because last weekend was the memorial service for my mother-in-law. She died in March, and it took us this long to be able to have, we had good weather. It was cool and windy, but we were all outside and the family was able to gather and we had a picnic, and it was very nice. But it made me realize that this is zooming around in my brain, trying to be constantly busy so that I am feeling productive and not experiencing all of the things that you feel when you're in the middle of a pandemic, because I've never done this like this before. I just need to stop. And the people who are dropping off quilts are being very kind, and know it's going to take several months to get them quilted, because sometimes you just need to take care of yourself and not overdo and not be over the top busy crazy. Even though I've been home and not going anywhere, I still feel like these lofty plans need to be reined in. So what am I planning? Well, New Year's Day is Monday. Why? Because it's the new year. We always started school after Labor Day. Some places are starting a little bit before in Michigan, but our school system still isn't starting until next week. And when the kids go back to school, that always triggers this new year. Summer's over. The random routines that I tried to set are going to have to get more tightened up for regular routines. Time for vacation brain is over, and it's time to get with the program. Do you do this? I do this every year. Summer, I have like a summer routine and then summer mentality and a little more outdoors and a little more gardening, a little more walking outside. But now we're coming to the buckle up your seatbelt and put on a helmet, because here we go. And I decided I'm not doing that. I'm still going to be safe. And I'm still going to be very careful on where I go and that kind of stuff, as long as it's within the executive orders and people can gather outside. You can still have gatherings in your house of small groups of people. But it's time to just kind of really just slowly feel my way back into what the rest of 2020 and into 2021 is going to be. I'm still going to do the podcast. It might be twice a month. It might be every 10 days. Who knows? And that's okay. It's okay. It's just, I just have to get off of my rigid mentality about it. Same with the YouTube videos. I've been putting them up, about twice a month with a couple of video podcasts with a logo on it, so people who like to listen to it via YouTube can. And that's okay. I'm not going to be too worried that I have lots of quilts stacked up to long arm, both mine and the customer quilts. And it's just going to take it one day, one step at a time. Remember, my blog's tagline is one stitch, one block, one row at a time. And that's my mantra for this month, because you can get yourself too carried away. And being home all the time, things get cluttered up more. And my home office is a card table and a folding chair. And I think I'm going to be this way for a while. So when we go downstate for visit with family, I may stop at IKEA and see if they do like a curbside or do a quick run in, because I know what I want, and get a couple of organizing Calyx systems, the universal organizer. And you can get them in different sizes and colors, and they're just, it's a shelf with boxes that you can slide in and out. You buy the boxes according to your decor. And just really start cleaning things up and purging things down. Just keep one step at a time, trying to clear out space, make the office like more real. I'm not buying a desk because I don't need a permanent desk. I have a desk at work, and if I wanted to, I could go in the office more, but I don't want to because I can work at home. I get way more done at home, less interruptions. I feel like I can zoom into a project like a laser beam and just knock it out in just a few minutes, where if I'm at work, I don't know what it is about work. Constant interruptions, constant interruptions. And when I'm home, because my husband works outside the home, I get a lot done, and I really, really like that. So the quilting stuff is going to be slow, but I'm still planning on doing a brief sew along on the My Creative Corner 3 Facebook group. I'm going to follow Quilting Jet Girl's orphan block layout that she shared with everyone last year. I've put away Dear Jane for a while. I've put away the Gnome Angels Friendship Fusion Sampler. Say that 3 times fast. Friendship Fusion Sampler. And I was going to start Socialite with the Fat Quarter Shop, which is a 36 or 38 week quilt with a sampler block. I'm not going to start that. I really toyed with the idea. I really like it. It's a beautiful quilt, but I'm going to have to say no on it and just work on quilting, long arming, and sewing these t-shirt quilts. I don't really have a burning need outside of doing that orphan block sampler to get cracking with a new quilt. I've got so many tops in there to finish. And then just work on maybe shorter term projects, simple projects like Cricut things. I have purchased a couple of items at the thrift shop, and I put out a video if you want to see them. I bought, the lusterware bowl and a couple of rose pattern depression glass plates that are amber, and Fire King mugs, and a Coca-Cola clock that's tiny, like 3 inches. If anyone knows anything about Coca-Cola stuff, let me know. The clock, the hands work, but I think it needs a new battery. It's adorable. I think it'll make a lovely gift for someone. In my family, we are cool with giving used gifts from the thrift shop that are way cool. So I have some ideas where that may go for a gift. And so I have purchased a frame and shadow boxes, and I'm looking for those when I go to the thrift shop to upcycle. So my plan is for a real quick project, because I have lots of stuff. When you're creative, you always have stuff laying around, right? Or you pick them up along the way because of sales. And this shadow box is really deep, and it's like a 5x7. And I saw somebody fill it with fake diamonds. And I bought one of those at a clearance over the holidays a couple years ago. And I'm going to fill it up with the diamonds. The diamonds fit. They're large, like as big as your thumbnail. And they're glittery and shiny. And one of my favorite movies that I didn't discover until like in the last decade is The Princess Bride. I love that movie. It's so sweet, and everything about it is amazing. My husband and daughter went to the movie theater when it came out, and I had to work weekends quite a bit. So this was an opportunity for them to do a mother working, so daddy, daughter are going to the movies and do fun things. And we did lots of fun things together, but it was a special time. And they went and saw The Princess Bride. And my husband said, it's a really adorable movie. And I thought the previews looked so stupid. And I really had a bad attitude about movies. I've back in that time period, I felt everything had to be extremely high art and cinematic and everything, and this very complicated storyline. That's why I love Lord of the Rings so much. But then I wouldn't go to the movie theater when that came out because I love the book. Oh, what an idiot. I've learned to loosen up. Okay. And I watched The Princess Bride for the first time on cable television that we had. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is the most adorable, sweet, and lovely movie. And it's one of my repeat movies. And I'm going to put "As You Wish" in cursive letters on the front. I just think it will make a very sweet composition in a shadow box with the glittery jewels and stuff. But I love The Princess Bride, and I might even put a couple embellishments on the side in vinyl. I have a little bit of vinyl. I thought that would be simple, easy, and quick. So I'll be doing that soon. And the other thing I have is some of the mugs and different pieces of glassware. I'm putting them out for fall decoration because they are the amber and peachy colors, and I'm going to get my pumpkins out this weekend. That will change everything up. Might make some more buntings in the fall themed. I have one at work, but I don't want to go back up there and get it to bring it home. So I may make another fall themed one like I did last year from the Cricut. It's all out of paper, and you run yarn through it. And it just gives the house a festive feel and reminds me of vacations where in Scotland they had buntings everywhere. And I just love that feeling. And I can put it across my dining room window, and it will be a great thing for me to look at while I'm sewing, because remember, I sew on my dining room table. So lots of Cricut crafts, easy crafts, upcycling crafts, things that are short term that will help me keep my creative juices flowing. And I did buy a shawl pattern, and I'm kind of inventoried my yarn, and I don't have lots of, it's a scrap yarn type of a pattern. And I think that will be when I'm ready to start doing a yarn project. We'll see how my hands feel. The arthritis in all of my knuckles has really been bothering me over the last couple of weeks. I did finish finally the cowl. I don't really like the finish. I did put a twist in it so it has an infinity scarf look by accident. But I think it will be fine to be able to put some of my really cool pins that I have in it, knit pins, things. I have a couple that are circle pins with the long thing that you stick through it. It's not a spike. You know what I'm talking about. Boy, sometimes your brain, huh? It's called a Jane shawl by NAI.NAI or makes, NAI.NAI.makes. 99 makes, and it's really cute. It's a single crochet with a miter. Never tried something like that, but I think I've done granny square, so I can't be too far off of making that. I've read through the pattern a couple times. So I think instead of knitting, I'm going to try crocheting, because crocheting quite honestly hurts my hands much less. Same with the hand stitching on my hexagons. I'm still got that temperature quilt that I'll be talking about for 100 years. I'm on the last row and I'm halfway done, but man, my fingers get hurting so bad. And I have to, hand stitch some bindings for customers occasionally. I don't do that often because of the pain that I'm having for my hands. And I'm wrapped up the binding for the family quilt. That's a vintage pink and green quilt that is a snowball and 9-patch block quilt. Very, very cute. So after they see it delivered, which will probably be another couple weeks, then I will share that with you guys. So a couple of simple projects. I'm not in a big hurry for sewing up lots of blocks. I think when I get the urge to sew, I'm still working on the quiet book, and I'm still toying with the idea of putting it on a little purse with being able to stick the doll and some accessories that the kids may have, with the back of the purse being, they're shaped like houses, being the outside, and then the front of the purse, you undo a button or a tie and you open it up and it will have the house front in 2 rooms. That's my idea. What will happen as I start sewing it? I think I'm going to serge all the edges. I don't want to bind it and my fingers hurt turning and all of the messing about. Well, this is just going to be kind of a quick, fun sewing job. And I think I'm going to do more serging than sewing. So I haven't quite got, timelines on this, but these are things I've been mulling over in my brain. So finishing up short projects and not starting any new things. When I'm ready, I'll chip away at the Kinship Fusion Sampler and Dear Jane again. But until then, I'm not going to start any more quilts. Just work on these little projects, get them all done and buttoned up and off the list, done and dusted. But the rest of the things that I really want to do is, continuing on the roll after the dumpster of organizing and streamlining things and trying to get things visually less overstimulating in parts of my house. That's the big plan. So those are some of the things I've been thinking about. And really, when it distills all down to, ideas and timelines, I decided that this is not the year to start a new planner and start writing all these goals that I'm going to kick in the ass and get it done by a certain time and do this. I'm really goal oriented. So it's going to be more fluid. All of those things I talked about have been mulling about or floating about my craft space for months. And I've impulsively started the little Quiet Books. There, I couldn't even think of Quiet Books combo bag. But then I didn't go any further. And then I impulsively started the Kinship Fusion, Dear Jane first, and then got bored with it and it got really hard. And then I put that away. And then I impulsively jumped on the annual July Gnome Angel 100 Blocks, 100 Days. And I was really, planning to go all 100 days. Yeah, no, a month went by and I'm like, I have no brain space for this. So I'm putting it away because guess what? She's going to do 100 Blocks, 100 Days again probably next year. And if I don't have it done, I'll pull it out again next year. That's the beauty of these things. I also found, lots of projects in my friend's inheritance that are applique things that are fused down that have never been appliqued. I could do those. There's a whole Christmas quilt and a child's quilt. Just slow down, smell the roses while they're here. Work on exercising and work on taking care of myself more. So I was just really thinking about all of that and just go, goals are great. But during the pandemic, I'm going to set them as short-term goals, not this year-long big plan of what I was going to do and how I'm going to do all of this stuff. So that's really where I'm at with it. And I think the pandemic has just made everybody tired. I'm tired. I'm working way harder than I used to at work with the brain, and day job is really hard. I'm just working one row at a time on the other projects that I am doing for customers. And I think that's okay to do and just be kind to ourselves during this time. I think I feel worse now than I did at the beginning of the pandemic because it's becoming a grind. And then I was like, oh my gosh, we got this podcast anniversary in another year. And what am I going to do? And no, I'm not going to do that this year. I'm going to take it right back to ground zero and just keep it simple. Keep it simple. And just say, if you would like to support the podcast, I do have a Patreon program, but more importantly, share it with your friends. Comment once in a while, send me an email. That'd be fantastic. And just go back to the simpler days and not have all the clutter in my brain with all the stuff, including the podcast. And, you always want to grow it and reach out and have, much more community. That's why I love having the Facebook group. But, I think we're all tired and we're all needing time to just be. And that's perfect. That's perfect for September. It's perfect for slowing down and not being the little squirrel running around the yard trying to prepare for the winter. Oh, yeah, we got preparations for the winter, but it's just one of those things that it doesn't have to all be done in 30 days. I've got all winter to do all the things that I just talked about, and I probably will keep talking about them all winter. So, just to let you know, haven't been reading anything, been watching a lot of YouTube and not really any one theme or shows. Just Get It Done Quilts is always a great place to go. I'm kind of just surfing around because a lot of people are not doing a ton of production during the pandemic, which is okay. We all need time and space, seems to be the theme of the month. Um, yeah, just slow and steady wins the race, as my grandma used to say. The story of the tortoise and the hare. I want to be on the pace of a hare, but running more at the speed of a tortoise. But all of that to say, I'm still looking forward to Nature Ride, maybe one this weekend because I do have 3 days off in a row. So does my husband. We have little trees that we're going to get planted in the back of the garden. And when I say I mean I'll be watching him digging because I'll just help him with placement of the trees. We have flowering crab that we can't seem to find a consensus on where we want to plant it, but it's got to get planted. And the other thing my husband wants to buy is a mountain ash. They know they're messy and they have berries and stuff, but the birds will love it. And we are trying to be very friendly to the birds in our yard. It would be lovely. So those are some things that we're planning on doing for the garden. The fairies are still out there. Their little houses are all beautiful and snuggled into the mature growth of the season. I still have some yellow pom-pom flowers blooming. The phlox is about done. And the sedum, the autumn joy sedum, is now just starting to open up with its pink flowers throughout the garden. And it's a little chilly to sit in the chairs, but we're going to leave them out probably till October because we'll probably get a few more warm days. The house is just snug and perfect temperature. I might even turn on my little electric fireplace just for some cool, cozy feelings. I've been lighting candles and heading into the hygge season. Would like to get some pumpkin spice smelling candles. I hear Aldi has a lot of lovely candles for fall in their aisles. I also hear that they have some essential oils for a very cheap price. They're small bottles, but I don't use them very much. Thinking I need to get a diffuser. And so those are some of the things. This weekend is pumpkin weekend. I'm going to get out all of my fall pumpkins. I have some that light up. I have some plastic ones that I did Zentangle on. I have crocheted amigurumi pumpkins. I have all kinds of things, and they're all coming out this weekend. I think that since I do have some people that sponsor me through Patreon as well as buying me a virtual cup of coffee on my Etsy shop. I am going to make it a point, and I'm hoping this weekend I can buy a pumpkin spice latte at Starbucks because I've never had one. And this is where I want to spend a lot of time in trying things and doing things that I have never done before. And I've never had a pumpkin spice latte. Come on, people. I haven't. I know they've been around a long time. Starbucks is one of those things I have a kind of a love-hate relationship with. I taste the burnt bitterness in a lot of their coffees, but I know their specialty stuff is good. I'll just have to get a small because all those carbs might do me in and I might need a nap, even though it is espresso in it. And then I want to try other things that I haven't done, like going on a fall hike. I haven't done that around here ever. I haven't. I usually do springtime walks on paved roads, but maybe it'll be cool enough then the ticks won't be out and I can get out and do a little walk. I don't know. These are things I want to research a little bit and see what's available. I've never been to Pictured Rocks in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, and I've never walked to one of the many waterfalls. I'm getting older, and hiking is not easy for me. And I thought, there's no time like the present, but I don't know that going to the UP will work because you have to plan on spending the night. And it's really busy because it's one of the few places that people can still go during this time. But that's on the list for next year. I don't do boat rides well. I get motion sickness easy, but the best way to see Pictured Rocks, which are some very large natural formations, I think they're a few hundred feet, 200 feet or so rising above Lake Superior, is to take a boat. I hear there's a catamaran out there that will be smoother than the boat tours that are in regular ferries. I want to try that. There's a glass bottom boat tour up there as well as one in Alpena. I think it's still there. Want to do that. When vacations can start. If we can't go to Ireland, maybe we can go to Wales or York. I'd like to do that. And I'd like to see the Grand Canyon. So these are all places that I would like to go soon. But my first trip is going to be to see the grandkids in Virginia for sure. So I'm still working out and trying to get it to where I can do a lot of walking, not hiking. Walking is different than hiking. Strengthening my body so I can do some of these things and just never forget the goal on it, right? Just keep on going and to be in the best optimal health. The other thing I want to do while I'm bringing out the pumpkins is I want to change out all of the dishes that I currently have in my china cabinet. It was my husband's grandma. It's curved and it's probably from the 40s, a semicircle in the front with a flat back. And I've been looking at these dishes in here for a long time, a decade or maybe two for some of them. I would like to take everything out and coordinate it more for seasonal displays and get rid of all of the clutter of just piling things on. I have boxes and boxes of dishes and glassware and teapots and etc., because I can't bear to put them in the trash because they're old and they're cool. But selling them isn't necessarily my in my plans either. But I thought, putting these totes in places in the basement, now that's cleared out a little bit more to where I can pull out my favorites and pull out things in seasonal rotation because I have more time. And, when you're young and you have kids and you're air traffic controlling the whole kids after school stuff and lessons, you don't have time to change things out with the season, but I can now. And so I think that will be a fun project to do. It will also get me to looking at all of the things that I have because, if you don't look at it from time to time, you have no idea what is in some of those boxes. And this will also be the perfect opportunity for me to continue to declutter and look at maybe some of these things can go to my kids' house. They like cool old things, and I have found a few of these things I definitely have been told they would like in their homes. So, do you remember that phase in your life where every time you visited your parents when you were in your 20s and 30s, and still now when I go in my 50s, they load you up with all of the stuff that they don't want anymore? And I usually say no if I really don't want it, but some of it's like some really way cool stuff and I want to keep it. And that happened last time I visited my mom. I gave her bags of fabric and she gave me bags of old dolls over the, dolls and different things, treasures from my youth, the big tote. But the doll is very, very cool. And it's china head, hands, and feet. She called it a Jenny Lind doll. I call it a Dolly Madison. I've heard it called, but how do I display it? So I think it's going to go upstairs on one of the guest beds, and I'm going to put a couple teddy bears and see. I have a collection of bears that I haven't seen in a long time, and just kind of rotate these things out and get some enjoyment. And now I understand the whole fun in collecting and rotating and liking it, and then find out that maybe there are things I don't need or want anymore, and then I can maybe give it away or sell it and find new things and new looks that I would like to do. It's amazing to me how much I have been kind of stuck in a decorating rut, and I'm ready for that kind of change. The pandemic's got me thinking crazy thoughts, right? But honestly, most of it is just um, purposing and re-displaying things that I have in a different way and rotating them. So, have you been going through this kind of stuff? I think that it's been a crazy time, and this last month has been the most crazy of all the months. And I have to give a good recommendation. One thing I did do is a lot of people are starting up their new podcast seasons because it's September. Is Brene Brown, Unlocking Us. I enjoyed her podcast. I didn't listen to all of them last season because some of them, I'm not really into interview shows, but she had a few that were really good and a couple that were, you could tell she was new at it. But this show was just her talking, and it is an opening for her second season. And if you've read her books, you know that she's talking about day two. And day two in her teaching was the day two of a 3-day workshop. And I remember reading this, and I think in Brave the Wilderness, I've read several of her books, and that one was the one I really liked the best. Day two was the day of the workshop that was the hardest, where all of the work had to happen. And it's the messy middle. It's not the enchanting opening where everyone's excited and on fire. It's where the work and the mess and all the learning happens. And then day three is usually the magical conclusion. And so she talked about day two, as well as some other things in the podcast. And it really hit home as to why we are where we are in our emotions and why seems to be harder, when in my brain I thought it would get easier. And then she talked a little bit about football season. So anybody who's with me on football, just know that I have a lot of trepidations. Our school is going to play football, and I'm not going because they won't allow public viewing. But I'm just kind of like, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know how I feel about it. Literally, I really don't know how I feel about it. No matter what your thoughts are about pandemics and masking and social distancing, I'm struggling with getting out and being in crowds of people. I really struggled with being outside with my own family at the memorial, and I'm certainly not going to go to a large gathering. They're not allowed in Michigan anyway, and I'm okay with that. So, why really take a listen, not watch, but listen to Brene Brown's Unlocking Us Day 2. I will try to get a good link in the description of the show notes, and you could link to listening to it. So, I think that will wrap it up for the podcast this week. In celebrating my podcast anniversary, I just want everybody to slow down and smell the flowers, smell the roses, go check out your nature. I know some places it's 100 and some degrees out, but that's a very grounding and calming thing for me. And also going through my stuff and repurposing and changing it up, changing the seasons. I'm getting my fall stuff out. It's September 1st. It's fall here. You can judge me if you want, but that's okay. And in fact, I know some people are talking about getting their Christmas things out and going right to Christmas. If that's you, you do you. That's all right. But whatever it is that makes you feel calm, zen, and happy, deep breathing a lot. And I'm listening to a lot of calming music, and even some of the bowls, where the people tap them and they ring. I really like that. And Headspace has some free tracks, which is a meditation, calming, anti-anxiety app that you can get on your phone. But for Michigan, and I'm sure many other people, I think in the pandemic, he opened up several free things. And a lot of it is focusing on the sound and the bowls ringing or different things. So I love that. I've even found a few who do like daily 1-minute meditations on TikTok, and I love that. Yet TikTok's a crazy place. So it's a social media 1-minute video. It's kind of like the old Vine. I love it, but you just got to know how to try to get your feed down to things you find interesting versus all of some of the craziness out there. So let me know what you're doing for self-care. I might want to try it. I've done everything around here twice except clean the house, and that's going to be a slow steady pace for this New Year's holiday, Labor Day weekend. So to celebrate podcast anniversary, just let everybody that you think would find this interesting, let them know. Give me a little like if you are on Apple, or a review. I have this YouTube channel that's slowly and steadily getting larger, and I'm getting better at content. And check that out. I talked about a couple of the things I've made. You could see the thrift store haul. And if you'd like to buy me a virtual cup of coffee, that's on my Etsy shop, My Creative Corner 3. And just know I'm going to give you the review of the pumpkin latte once I can get within 20 cars of our Starbucks. You have a most wonderful Labor Day weekend. If you're here in North America, if this is not your end of summer and kickoff to fall, where you live, have a most blessed weekend and be creative and quilt on, everyone.